Hello all Inderes TV listeners and viewers. Suominen reported their Q3 this morning, and we have for interview CEO Charles Héaulmé, who started in August. Hello, Charles.
Good afternoon.
So you are a new face at Inderes TV. I think some investors might remember you from Huhtamäki, but could you briefly introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks a lot for the introduction, and thank you for having me today. My name is Charles Héaulmé. As you say, I'm not unknown in Finland. I'm 59 years old, married since 35 years, father of 4 kids. I'm French by nationality, but I like to present myself as a citizen of the world, and the reason is that I have lived half of my life abroad in 11 different countries, 3 different continents. And what I love, actually, and particularly at work, is to create better teams through the intercultural learning and complementarity. I have spent my career between now 3 industries, primarily the automotive industry during 6 years, then the packaging industry for 25 years, 20 in the Swedish company Tetra Pak, and then the last 6 years were as CEO of the Finnish company Huhtamäki, and then now getting myself into another process industry, the non-woven industry at Suominen. I like to present myself as an architect, and when I say that, it's actually a passion professionally and personally to be an architect, and I like at work to be a strategic architect, to be a transformation architect, and I define myself as a people leader. I really like teamwork. For me, this is the key to success, is how to make a strong team. I would finalize my quick introduction saying that my values summarize in 3 words, and that's something I want to bring also to Suominen. It's I like to care and dare to win. That's the 3 words that for me really matter, and that most likely we'll speak more about at Suominen in the future. And 2 things that I put prior to anything else is honesty and safety.
Great, thank you for that. So you joined Suominen actually, I think 1.5 years ago to the board first, and now then as a CEO from August, like said. So what motivated you to join, perhaps firstly the board, and now then making the transition to the operational role?
So if I go back, you're right. I joined the board of Suominen back in April 2024, and directly as the chair of the board. What I would recall are 2 main factors really convinced me to prioritize that opportunity versus other potential board opportunities. First one was the quality of the anchoring shareholders. What I mean is the Etola and Ahlström families, which have together the majority shareholding the company. When discussing about this board opportunity, that was back in the end of 2023, I met all the representatives of the 2 family holding companies, and I have really liked them from the beginning, and immediately I felt like I want to work with them on the long run. So that was a very determining factor, and I would even personalize it in the fact that in the board of Suominen we have Andreas Ahlström, and he's the vice chair. And I really wanted to work with Andreas Ahlström. So the quality of the anchoring shareholders was absolutely key. The second aspect is, I did my quick due diligence on Suominen, and it was relatively clear upfront that this company has lots of opportunities, has also a certain leadership in this industry, but at the same time was in need of a relatively profound transformation. And that aspect was really appealing to me. The experience of driving together with the management a transformation was attractive to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then what about the kind of transition to the CEO position? You know, you come from quite a lot larger company leading Huhtamäki, and then coming to Suominen. So some why to wonder kind of why did you take this kind of step in your career?
You know, for me, the career has never been a race for bigger or looking better. And I said what attracted me at Suominen to start with, and when I really understood more deeply the situation of the company and the opportunity that there is to transform it, I thought like I'd be really interested to help even more. And as a CEO, you help even more than as a chair, obviously, because you are in the day-to-day business. And I thought I can have an impact. For me, the size of the company does not matter. It doesn't make me waking up more motivated in the morning because the company is 5 billion or 10 billion. Of course, you have different resources and capabilities in the company of 10 billion, but Suominen is a very interesting company with lots of opportunities. And as I said, I would be extremely satisfied personally and professionally if I could do and bring a strong impact for these shareholders who are long-term shareholders, faithful to their vision with Suominen, and I want to do good for them.
Yeah, great. That's interesting. And now you're actually both the chairman of the board and the CEO, at least until the next AGM. So how do you see that double role, and does that indicate kind of that you have now a really strong mandate to do some changes in the upcoming months when you have this double role?
So I would say yes. I know in Finland, in the Nordic countries, it's a very unusual setup, even though it has been done in some cases for transformational projects. It's more usual in other geographies, but let's not debate about what's right, what's wrong. First of all, maybe anecdotally, I will say what the board is currently already saying in its own evaluation is that I'm playing that role, this dual role in the right way, being the CEO when I need to be the CEO and being the chair when I need to be the chair. So I'm not using let's say, the power that the two roles could give, at any personal interest, but I'm only thinking about the company's interest. Now, the real answer to your question is these combined roles are not there by design, okay? I was first primarily the chair of the board. Then when we understood the more recent situation at Suominen requiring a transformation, a radical transformation and a change of leadership, then I thought I have been asked whether I would be interested to step up into the job because I was kind of, let's say, available at that point. And I said why I was attracted to do good for the company and for the shareholders. Now, it's not my decision, and from a governance point of view, I'm sure that the shareholders will make the right decision that they have to make in the next AGM in April 2026.
Yeah, indeed. Then going a bit to more into the kind of business matters, you commented actually in some interview last year as a chairman that Suominen should be in I think it was 5 years clearly different kind of size in scale wise. So how do you see Suominen at the moment? Is there currently kind of a potential or financial resources to actually kind of start doing that scale up, or what's the situation now with kind of that ambition you had?
Yeah. When I said that a year ago, I believed into what I said, and today I still believe in what I said a year ago. in 5 years, we should be at a different scale in this industry because this industry needs consolidation and because I believe that Suominen will have a bigger role to play in the future. Now, if your question is, do we have today the possibility to scale our company? I would say that would be the wrong priority. Okay. And by the way, I don't think we have the resources or the immediate resources to scale up the company today. Today, the priority is to reset the profitability and the cash generation. This is the absolute priority we need to have. And we may come back to that if you want to, dig into more questions. Why is this so important? Because once we do that, and increase our profit generation and our cash generation, then we would be in a healthier situation in order to think about scaling the company organically. Inorganically, we will see that we still need to build the 2030 strategy. And I would like to remind also that's the power of Suominen. We have very strong and long-term oriented anchoring shareholders. So all this makes the company more solid than the very short-term results may indicate.
Yeah, that sounds very, very logical. Okay, let's go then a bit to the actual Q3 numbers. You pre-announced those a few weeks ago, so probably investors are well aware already where the kind of financials are going. But can you just mention a few main points of the quarter?
Okay. So we announced our results this morning, but yes, you're right. On October 15, we had to revise our outlook. And this was based on the situation as we see it for until the end of the year, but particularly linked to Q3. Q3 represents a weak performance. So let me elaborate a little bit on this. First of all, from a market point of view, the market that, as we see it, was relatively flat in Europe. And however, growing in the US, there is a growth, there is demand, but also our customers want more supply from us. Therefore, I would not claim that our Q3 weak results are due to the market softness. Okay, that's point number one. And therefore, we need to look more internally at what has happened. And we have suffered, we said it very clearly, I think, in our report today, we have suffered two major events, I would say, even by nature, exceptional events in two of our US factories during Q3. One was a structural mechanical failure into one of our most important production lines, which meant that production line was out of production for 2 months. And is now ramping up into after requalification into commercial production. The second was a flooding in another factory that has meant two things: some immediate inventory disposal, write down, which has quite a sizable impact, but also some interruption into the production. Without both events, the quarter three would have been the underlying performance of the quarter three would have been not terrific, but at least solid.
Yeah, indeed. Like you mentioned, you already lowered the full year guidance, so which basically means now kind of the outlook for Q4 with one quarter to go. So is there some improvement insight regarding the markets or your own efficiencies, which would support that, or what's the factors driving the Q4 results?
Yes, so there are the things I can say because things which are ongoing, so improvements happening as we speak, and there are the things I cannot say because they are in the assessment phase, and therefore they are not estimated in terms of impact and in terms of exact action plan, but coming. So yes, there are many improvements that we can do, and that's why I'm not claiming that the problem of Suominen is an external problem. It is primarily an internal problem. And And which is the good news, because it means that it's in our hands. And if we act consistently and in a comprehensive way, we will be in a much better position. I will not tell you in Q4, but say within a year, and then 2 years at full scale. So improvements that we can already value is what has been announced before in Q2 about a fixed cost savings program that would aim at saving 10 million euro over 24 months. This is not going to be the only program we will have, but that's the only one I can speak in a tangible manner at this point. We are well advanced into making the cost reduction, and we are very clearly planning that by the end of the year, we will have already implemented the majority of all the actions. We are putting in place also a very deep assessment of all operational aspects of the company, but primarily into our manufacturing operations, in order to become much more reliable in our production, in our utilization, and in the supply to customers. And that in itself will bring growth without further investments over the next couple of months, but not specifically in Q4. And that's why we have to be prudent about Q4. We have started this assessment. It's going to take another couple of weeks before being ready with what impact this may mean and what action plan are going to be put in place. And as soon as we will be ready, I would believe that we will want to communicate to the market about what we are planning to do.
Yeah, that's good to hear. We'll wait for the kind of new measures to come in that time. But if we still look back for the past few years, basically since the huge peak in the demand during COVID kind of boosted the earnings. After that, it has been several weak years for Suominen, and there has been quite a lot of efficiency measures made by the company also during the past years. So do you see that those have just been kind of too little, that more should be done, or has there been some reason why those measures have not been translated into improved earnings in the past?
So first of all, I would refrain from commenting on the plans that my predecessors have been putting in place. Of course, we have our duties to learn from them, but I would refrain from commenting or judging those plans. What I can say is, and that's facts, those are facts which are actually public information. Just look at the numbers. When you look at the last 10 years, the volume of the company has been roughly, if I'm being, not going into details, roughly flat, while the cost and the structural cost have been continuously increasing, which says that the competitiveness of the company was going down in a consistent manner over years. So did we have efficiency plans? Well, maybe, but apparently they didn't answer the bigger competitiveness question. So what I care about is looking forward, and what is under my responsibility together with the rest of the management of the company is, number one, to leave no stone uncovered. And we are doing this right now, including with external support, in order to really look at every single aspect of the company. It would be too easy to say, the issue is A, B, or C, and then we go after that. No, this is the time to be comprehensive and compelling. Therefore, take the time to do that, and then have a very consistent execution of that plan over time. What I can say is to look also at the positive side is, over the last 2 months, I have met about 15 customers in Europe, in US, in Brazil, and they all recognize wanting to work with Suominen. And they all recognize our leadership in innovation, particularly for sustainability innovation, and they want more from us, which is good news. So therefore, I'm coming back to the problem. The problem is more internal in our capacity of being a reliable supplier to our customers with the capacity that we have. Okay. Therefore, it has to do with the way we're going to plan and execute the plan. But I'm absolutely convinced from what I'm seeing that the future is going to look brighter, much brighter for Suominen. It might look a bit different in the way we will operate in some ways, but I cannot tell you what now because it's in the assessment. And by the way, I'll be very honest. If I didn't believe that we can transform this company, I would not have engaged into this exciting journey. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you mentioned already a couple of times you are in the process of this thorough assessment. Can you give any timeline for that? Should that kind of be completed during this year, or would it continue on also in 26?
Yes. So three things I would say. But if I would say one thing, if you would tell me the one thing that's going to make the difference, I might be quite surprising as CEO of a manufacturing company. The one thing, absolutely the most fundamental that we need to build at Suominen is build a culture of accountability. That means a culture where we acknowledge the reality, where we take ownership, where we define solutions, and where we implement the solutions. That's the culture of winners. Okay, that's if we have to do one thing, this is the one. Now, of course, it's not the only one thing that we're going to do, but this is if I compare, building the Suominen of the future with building a house, this is the foundation. If you don't put the foundation right, you cannot build the house in a solid way. So what are we going to do? We're going to do two things. A part of this culture of building this culture of accountability that has already started by its early days. Two things. One is the phase one is to reset the profitability. And to do that, this is the assessment we are doing right now as we speak, and where I don't want to give a date when we are ready with it. We have, of course, our internal, planning, but within relatively short, we will have this plan ready in order to reset the profitability with a time frame of execution of roughly 2 years. Okay. Then what's going to happen is immediately after this planning of the short-term profitability reset is planning for the long term. So that's what I would call the 2030 growth strategy. And that we're going to engage into that in Q1. And probably we are planning at this point, again, I'm not going to give you a date, but we will communicate about that strategy in Q2 2026. And it will be about the Suominen of the future when we have reset the profitability.
Great. That sounds pretty clear. So we will wait for your further plans in the coming months. Thank you very much for the interview, Charles.
Thank you for the invitation.